All right, welcome. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on a super critical part of any pharmaceutical plant, the warehouse and the weighing department. And we're going to look at it from an auditor's point of view, really zeroing in on those checkpoints that are just non-negotiable when it comes to keeping patients safe. Let's get right into it.
You know, this quote just absolutely nails it. It really sets the stage perfectly. The warehouse isn't just some big room with shelves. It's the front line. It is the gatekeeper. If a bad material gets past this point, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a bad product going out the door. The stakes are that high from the very beginning.
So let's put on our auditor hats. We're going to follow a raw material from the second it shows up on the truck. This first step, just receiving the material, is honestly where things can go wrong in a hurry.
Now, you might look at this and think, cardboard, what's the big deal? Well, in the Pharma world, that cardboard box is like a Trojan horse for dirt, dust, and even mold. That's why every single thing has to go through an airlock, a special de-dusting area to basically shed that dirty outer layer. And right there, the very first thing you check are the seals on the containers. A broken seal? That's a massive red flag. It calls the entire integrity of that material into question.
Okay, so once a material is inside, it doesn't just get put on a shelf ready to use. No way. Every single item, whether it's the main active ingredient or just a simple filler, goes straight into quarantine. Think of it like a penalty box in a hockey game. Nothing gets used until the quality control lab runs all their tests and gives the official thumbs up. It's a fundamental rule.
So how do you make sure nobody uses this quarantine stuff by accident? Well, you use what I like to call a belt and suspenders approach. You need two layers. First, there's the system control. The material gets an electronic lock in the inventory system, something like SAP, so the computer won't even let you order it for a batch. But we can't just trust computers, right? That's why you also have physical control, a real actual fenced-off area with big yellow signs. This stops someone from just grabbing the wrong pallet by mistake. You're controlling for both system and human error.
All right, the material has been received and it's safely locked down in quarantine. But the job's not done. Now we have to make sure its quality is maintained while it's being stored and, crucially, when it gets sampled for testing.
Sampling is a really big deal because it's the very first time a container is opened inside the facility. It's a moment of huge risk, so it has to be done in a special piece of equipment, a reverse laminar airflow, or RLAF booth. And the design of this thing is just brilliant. It has this curtain of super clean air that blows down over the product, protecting it from the room. But at the same time, it's sucking air away at the bottom, which protects the person doing the sampling from breathing in any potent drug powder. It protects the product and the person simultaneously.
So as an auditor, I'm going to walk right up to this RLF booth. I see this simple little pressure gauge on the side, a magnehelic gauge. What am I looking for? What is that little needle telling me that's so important?
And the answer is, it's telling me the health of the filters. If that pressure reading is too high or too low, it means the HEPA filters are probably clogged with dust. A clogged filter means the airflow isn't working right. And if the airflow is compromised, that whole dual protection system we just talked about, it fails. That little dial is a direct window into whether that entire sampling operation is safe or not.
Now, what about the warehouse itself? These places are enormous, and the temperature can be all over the place. You can't just stick one thermometer on a wall and assume everything's fine. Nope. You have to do a full-blown scientific study called a temperature mapping. You literally find the absolute hottest and coldest spots in the entire building, maybe up by the ceiling in the summer or next to a big loading bay door in the winter. And that's where you have to put your permanent monitoring sensors. You monitor the worst-case spots to make sure no product ever gets degraded.
Oh, this is a classic audit finding. See, most businesses run on FIFO, first in, first out. It's an accounting thing. But in pharma, quality logic beats accounting logic every time. We use FIFO, first expired, first out. It doesn't matter when a material arrived. What matters is when it expires. You always use the batch that's going to expire the soonest. It's all about making sure the patient gets a potent product, and, as a bonus, it minimizes expensive waste.
Okay, so our material has been received, tested, and stored properly. Now it's time to follow it across the bridge into actual production. And that starts in the dispensing area, the weighing room. This is where powders are exposed and recipes are measured out. It is a major hotspot for potential mistakes.
The controls in here are unbelievably strict. And one of the most important ones is that the room is kept under negative pressure. What does that mean? It means the room is constantly sucking air in, not blowing it out. This is huge for containment.
If a little bit of potent drug powder gets into the air, it gets trapped by the ventilation system inside the room instead of escaping into the hallway and contaminating other products. A quick auditor trick? Go look at the air return vents. If you see them caked with powder, you know their containment strategy isn't working.
The weighing process itself is like a carefully choreographed dance, where every step is designed to prevent a specific error. First, you have line clearance. A quality assurance person has to come in and physically sign off that the room is spotless and free of any material from the last job. Then, you have the one-at-a-time rule. You are never allowed to have 2 different material containers open at the same time. It sounds simple, but it's the best way to prevent a catastrophic mix-up. And finally, the double check. For the really important stuff, like the active pharmaceutical ingredients, a second person has to come and verify the weight. It's a critical human backup system.
So, we've talked about the big systems and the fancy procedures, but a really good auditor knows that sometimes the biggest, most critical failures are hiding in the simplest details right out in the open. Let's look at a couple of examples.
So I'm walking through the warehouse, and I see it. The big cage where they keep all the rejected materials, the stuff that failed testing and absolutely cannot be used. How do I do a quick, simple, but incredibly effective test of their security?
You walk up and you shake the door. It is that simple. If that cage door is unlocked, that is an immediate, major audit finding. There is absolutely no excuse. The risk of someone accidentally grabbing that rejected material and putting it back into the supply chain is it's unthinkable. That lock has to be secure, period.
And this is a true story, and it's a terrifying one. An auditor finds a scoop that has a cleaned tag on it, but when they look closely, they see a tiny bit of white powder stuck in a corner. Now, what if that powder was from a potent steroid? And what if that scoop was about to be used to weigh something for a children's pain reliever? You've just created a massive cross-contamination event. This is why cleaning procedures are so vital and why a finding like this is always, always a big deal.
All right, time for a little pop quiz to see if you've been paying attention. You're the auditor, you see a pallet. It's got a big green approved sticker on it. Everything looks good, but it's parked in the aisle right next to the red tagged rejected materials cage. Is that a problem? Is that a violation?
Yes, absolutely, it's a violation. The label might say approved, but its location creates confusion. It creates ambiguity, and ambiguity is the enemy of safety in a pharmaceutical plant. A forklift driver in a hurry could easily grab the wrong thing. Good manufacturing practices demand orderly storage to prevent exactly this kind of mix-up. And really, that's the whole point, isn't it? It's not just about what the label says, it's about the process, the location, and the relentless attention to detail that ensures every single patient is safe.